What happens when two of the most beloved faces of Little People, Big World, walk away from the show that helped define their lives? For years, fans watched Zach and Tori Roloff grow right before their eyes. From newlyweds full of hope, to devoted parents raising their children, to a family building their own traditions and future. They didn't just share milestones. They shared their struggles, their victories, their most personal and emotional moments. And in doing so, they became more than reality TV stars. They became the heart of the show. Their presence brought warmth. Their story brought authenticity. And their journey kept millions of viewers emotionally connected season after season. But then, something changed. In a decision that surprised fans everywhere, Zach and Tori stepped away from Little People, Big World. No dramatic farewell. No clear roadmap for what would come next. Just silence and unanswered questions. Why did they really leave? Was it temporary? Or was it the end of an era? For a long time, fans have wondered if they would ever return. If the cameras would follow their lives again. If their story with the show was truly over. And now, for the first time, Zach and Tori are opening up. They're revealing how they really feel. What changed behind the scenes. And whether a return is still possible. Will they ever come back to the show that made them household names? Or have they already closed that chapter of their lives forever? Because their answer may not only shape their future. It may change the future of Little People, Big World itself. That question has lingered in the minds of fans ever since their departure. Because for many viewers, Zach and Tori weren't just cast members. They were the emotional heart of Little People, Big World. Their journey represented something real, something relatable, something deeply human. People watched Zach grow from a quiet, thoughtful young man into a devoted husband and father. They watched Tori bring warmth, strength, and balance into his life. Together, they created a family dynamic that felt genuine and inspiring. And when they chose to step away, it didn't just feel like a cast change. It felt like the end of an era. For Zach and Tori, the decision wasn't made lightly. Reality television had been part of Zach's life since he was a teenager. Cameras had captured his milestones, his struggles, and his triumphs. It was familiar, it was comfortable, and in many ways it was part of his identity. But becoming parents changed everything. Their focus shifted to Jackson, Lila, and Josiah. Their world became centered on protecting their children, creating stability, and ensuring they could grow up with a sense of normalcy. Reality television brings opportunity, but it also brings exposure, attention, and constant public scrutiny. And for Zach and Tori, that reality began to feel different than it once had. They weren't just thinking about themselves anymore. They were thinking about their families' long-term well-being. Still, their departure left unanswered questions. Because while they stepped away, they never completely closed the door. They didn't say never. They didn't make a permanent declaration. Instead, they left fans with uncertainty, with curiosity, with hope. Hope that maybe, someday they might return. Hope that their story on Little People, Big World might not be over after all. And now, that question feels more relevant than ever. Because recent conversations, subtle hints, and emotional family developments have begun to spark speculation once again. Is a return possible? Is there unfinished business? Or have Zach and Tori truly moved on to a completely new chapter of their lives? The answer isn't as simple as yes or no. Because behind that question lies something deeper. It's not just about television. It's about family. It's about healing. And it's about deciding what kind of future they want to create, both on camera and off. And as new details continue to emerge, fans are beginning to realize that the story of Zach and Tori Roloff may not be finished just yet. For years, viewers watched Zach and Tori grow from a young couple into devoted parents. Their journey wasn't just entertainment. It was real life unfolding in front of millions of people. Every milestone was documented. The excitement of becoming parents. The emotional moments of raising children with dwarfism. The challenges. The triumphs. And the quiet moments in between. Fans felt connected to them, invested in their story, rooting for their happiness. But behind the scenes, reality television comes with pressures that viewers don't always see. There are schedules to follow, scenes to film, moments to revisit, even when emotions are still fresh. And over time, that constant presence of cameras can begin to change how life feels. Simple family moments are no longer just personal memories. They become content. They become episodes. They become public. For Zach and Tori, this raised an important question. What parts of their life did they want to keep for themselves? Because as their children grew older, the answer became clearer. They wanted their kids to experience childhood without constant filming, without production crews, without feeling like their lives were part of a television storyline. They wanted normalcy, privacy, freedom. This didn't mean they weren't grateful for the show. Little People, Big World gave them opportunities. It gave them a platform. It allowed them to share their story and inspire others. But gratitude doesn't mean staying forever. Sometimes, growth means recognizing when it's time to move forward. And that's exactly where Zach and Tori found themselves. Their priorities had shifted. Their focus was no longer on television. It was on family dinners, school mornings, quiet evenings at home, moments that didn't need cameras to be meaningful. Stepping away wasn't about leaving something behind. It was about protecting what mattered most. Their family, their peace, their future. And while fans were surprised by their decision, many understood it. Because at the heart of everything, Zach and Tori weren't just reality TV stars. They were parents. And sometimes, the most important decisions aren't about career. They're about creating the life you want for the people you love most. Their departure marked the end of one chapter. But it also opened the door to something new. A life that belonged entirely to them. Not to the cameras. Not to the audience. Just to their family. Since stepping away from Little People, Big World, Zach and Tori Roloff entered a completely different phase of life. One that felt calmer, slower, and far more personal than anything they had experienced before. For years, their lives followed the rhythm of filming schedules. Cameras were present during important milestones. Emotional conversations became storylines. Family moments were shared not just with each other, but with millions of viewers around the world. But when they left the show, everything changed. Their daily lives were no longer structured around production timelines. There were no early call times, no filming interruptions, no pressure to revisit emotional situations for the sake of television. Instead, there was quiet. And in that quiet, they found something meaningful. They focused their energy on their children, Jackson, Lila, and Josiah. Simple moments became the center of their world. School routines, family outings, bedtime stories, weekend adventures. Moments that didn't need to be documented to matter. Moments that belonged only to them. For Zach, this shift meant being more present as a father. He had more time to guide his children, to support them, and to experience their growth without distraction. He wasn't balancing family life with the demands of being a television personality anymore. He was simply being dad. For Tori, the change brought emotional relief. For years, she had shared deeply personal parts of her life publicly: pregnancy journeys, parenting challenges, family tensions. While she handled it with strength and openness, stepping away gave her space to breathe. Space to live without constant observation. Space to protect her peace. And fans could see the difference. Through social media, Zach and Tori continued sharing small glimpses into their lives, But now, those glimpses felt different. They weren't part of a storyline. They weren't edited into episodes. They were authentic snapshots of real life. Photos of family trips. Videos of their kids laughing. Moments of everyday joy. Moments that felt genuine. And viewers noticed something else too. Zach and Tori seemed happier. More relaxed. More grounded. There was a sense of stability in their lives that hadn't always been visible before. The stress that once came with filming and family tensions seemed to have softened. They were building their own path, creating their own environment, and defining their own version of happiness. But even as they embraced this new chapter, their connection to little people, Big World, never truly disappeared. Because the show wasn't just a job. It was their history. It documented Zach's journey from childhood into adulthood. It captured the beginning of his relationship with Tori. It preserved memories of their early years as parents. It was part of their identity, part of their story, and part of the reason so many people felt connected to them. The show introduced them to the world. And the world never forgot. Fans continued to follow their lives closely, even without weekly episodes. Their social media became a bridge, a way for viewers to stay connected while respecting their independence. And that created an interesting reality. They had stepped away from television, but they hadn't stepped away from their audience. Their story was still unfolding, just on their own terms now. And that raised an important question. Was this chapter truly the end of their connection to little people, Big World? Or was it simply a pause before something new? Even now, long after their departure, the question hasn't faded. If anything, it's grown louder. Every interview, every social media post, every public appearance, fans continue searching for clues. Not because they simply want more episodes, but because Zach and Tori became something more than television personalities. They became familiar faces. A family people watched grow. A story people emotionally invested in. For years, viewers witnessed Zach's journey from childhood into adulthood. They saw his challenges, his victories, his growth as a husband, and eventually, his growth as a father. And alongside him, Tori became a central part of that journey. Her warmth, her honesty, her openness. She brought balance to Zach's world. And together, they created a family dynamic that felt real. Unscripted. Authentic. That authenticity is what made their departure so impactful. It wasn't just another cast change. It felt like losing a core part of the show's identity. For Zach and Tori, however, the decision to step away wasn't made lightly. It came after years of living their lives in front of cameras. Years of sharing personal moments with millions of viewers. Moments of joy. Moments of stress. Moments of vulnerability. Living that way can be rewarding. But it can also be exhausting. Because when cameras are present, privacy becomes limited. Simple family moments become public content. Personal decisions become public discussions. And as their children grew older, Zach and Tori became more aware of the environment they were creating for them. They began asking important questions. Questions about normalcy. Questions about boundaries. Questions about what kind of childhood they wanted their kids to have. They wanted their children to experience life without constant observation. Without pressure. Without expectations from an audience. That desire played a major role in their decision. Still, they've never dismissed the show completely. They've never spoken negatively about the experience as a whole. In fact, they've acknowledged the opportunities it gave them. The show gave them a platform. It gave them financial stability. It gave them memories. And it gave them a connection with fans that still exists today. That connection is why the question of returning remains so powerful. Because from the outside, it's easy to imagine the possibility. A return, a reunion, a continuation of their story. And sometimes, Zach and Tori have addressed that possibility in careful, thoughtful ways. They haven't completely ruled it out forever, but they also haven't made any promises. Their answers often reflect balance. They acknowledge their past, but they remain focused on their present. Right now, their priority isn't television. It's their family life, their children's growth, their stability, their peace. They've built a life away from the spotlight, a life where they control their own schedule, where their moments belong to them, not to production timelines, not to audience expectations. And that kind of freedom is difficult to give up once you've experienced it. At the same time, they understand the emotional connection fans still feel. They understand why people hope for their return. Because their story never felt finished. It felt paused. Fans remember the laughter, the milestones, the everyday moments that made their family relatable. And in many ways, Zach and Tori remain grateful for that support. They've expressed appreciation for viewers who followed their journey, who supported them, who respected their decisions. That respect means everything, because stepping away wasn't about rejecting their past. It was about protecting their future. It was about choosing what felt right, not what felt expected. And that distinction matters, because ultimately, their lives are no longer defined by episodes. They're defined by real moments, private moments, moments that belong only to them. Still, the possibility of returning remains a topic of curiosity. Not certainty, not commitment, but possibility. And sometimes, possibility is enough to keep hope alive. For now, Zach and Tori continue moving forward, building their lives, raising their children, creating memories away from cameras. Whether they return or not, their impact on little people, Big World remains permanent. Because they weren't just part of the show. They were part of its heart. And hearts, once connected, are never truly forgotten. The future of Little People, Big World is standing at a crossroads. For more than 2 decades, the show has followed the Roloff family through every stage of life: childhood, adulthood, marriage, parenthood, and everything in between. But like all long-running series, change is inevitable. People grow, priorities shift, and sometimes the very individuals who helped shape the show's identity choose to step away and focus on a new chapter. Zach and Tori Roloff were not just cast members. They became central figures in the evolution of the series. Viewers watched their relationship grow from its early beginnings into a strong and committed marriage. Fans celebrated their milestones, their wedding, the birth of their children, and the everyday moments that made their family relatable and real. Their story brought warmth and emotional depth to the show. It gave viewers someone to connect with on a deeply personal level. Their presence represented continuity. They were part of the bridge between the original generation and the future of the Roloff family. Zach, as Matt and Amy's son, carried forward the family legacy. And Tori brought her own voice, perspective, and strength into the story. Together, they became one of the most beloved couples in the Little People, Big World universe. So when they made the decision to step away, it didn't just mark a personal turning point. It marked a major shift for the show itself. Their absence created a noticeable void. Fans who had followed their journey for years suddenly found themselves missing familiar moments. The laughter of their children, their family traditions, their everyday conversations. These were the moments that made the show feel alive, and without them, the emotional tone of the series inevitably changed. But at the same time, their decision also reflects something important about the nature of reality television. These shows capture real lives, and real lives don't stay the same forever. People grow beyond the roles they once played. They move forward. They seek privacy. They pursue new goals. And sometimes, stepping away becomes part of that growth. For Zach and Tori, their focus has clearly shifted toward building a life centered around their family. Away from cameras, away from constant public attention. They've chosen to prioritize stability, privacy, and personal happiness, and that decision speaks volumes about what matters most to them now. It doesn't erase what they contributed. It doesn't erase the memories, and it certainly doesn't erase the impact they had on millions of viewers. Because their story helped define an era of little people, big world. They represented a new generation stepping into adulthood. They showed viewers what it meant to build a life while navigating family expectations, personal challenges, and public attention. Their experiences reflected real emotions, joy, uncertainty, growth, and resilience. And that authenticity is what made their journey so meaningful. Even now, their influence continues to shape how fans see the show. For longtime viewers, Little People, Big World isn't just about what happens next. It's also about remembering everything that came before. And Zach and Tori's story is a major part of that history. Their moments didn't just fill episodes. They became memories that viewers carry with them. Their legacy isn't defined by whether they return. It's defined by what they gave during the time they were there. They helped the audience grow with them. They helped tell a story that spanned generations. And they helped make the show what it became. At the same time, their decision also raises important questions about the future of the series itself. Can the show continue to evolve without some of its most recognizable faces? Can new stories capture the same emotional connection? Can the next chapter resonate in the same way? These questions don't have simple answers. Because shows like Little People, Big World are built on relationships. They're built on people. And when those people step away, the show must find new ways to move forward. But one thing remains certain. Zach and Tori's impact cannot be undone. They didn't just appear on the show. They helped define it. They helped shape its emotional heart. And they helped create moments that fans will never forget. Whether they return someday, or whether their chapter remains closed, their story will always be part of Little People, Big World. Because some stories don't end when the cameras stop rolling. They continue through memory, through legacy, and through the lasting connection between a family and the audience who watched them grow. Right now, Zach and Tori Roloff are focused on what matters most to them, their family, their future, and the life they've built together away from the cameras. For years, viewers watched them grow, from newlyweds to parents, from living on Roloff farms to creating a home of their own. Their journey on Little People, Big World wasn't just about television. It was about real life, real challenges, real emotions, and real growth. The show gave fans the opportunity to witness their happiest moments, the birth of their children, their milestones as a family, their dreams and their struggles, and through it all, Zach and Tori remained true to themselves. Walking away from the show wasn't an easy decision. It meant closing a chapter that had been part of their lives for many years, a chapter filled with memories they will carry forever. But it also gave them something equally valuable: privacy, peace, and the freedom to focus on their children and their future without the constant presence of cameras. Whether they ever choose to return to Little People, Big World someday, or continue building their lives away from reality television, their story will always remain an important part of the show's legacy. Because their impact didn't end when they stepped away, it continues through the fans who supported them, through the moments that viewers still remember, and through the family they've built together. Their journey reminds us of something important: that life doesn't stand still. People grow, priorities change, and sometimes the bravest decision is choosing what's best for your family, even when it means walking away from something familiar. Fans will continue to support them, not because of the show, but because of who they are. Because at the end of the day, their happiness matters more than anything else. Their children matter more than anything else, and the life they're building together is what truly defines their story now. And sometimes, stepping away isn't the end of a story. Sometimes, it's the beginning of a new one. With that said, thank you for watching.